And as always, waiting. There we go. And boom. Hey, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Okay, I see how this works. I've got a new button, or button, as my grandson Carter used to say. Or if you're younger than 40, it's a button, because there is no T in the English language anymore. There are now 25 letters in the English language, no more T. Mad Jack, good morning, buddy. How are you? Tommy, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Nice to have you along with us. Oh, I see how this works. I'm looking at this new feature right here. Okay, and it looks like it aggregates the comments, and it looks like they're going to scroll up that side of the screen. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. First time I've ever used this, Cliff. Okay, I see how this works. Mike, good morning, buddy. How are you? How are things in Arizona? You're in the right spot, my friend, because you don't want to be back here in Michigan. Now, I love this state. I love this state dearly. But this has been an interesting January. It's been cold. It's been very cold. Oh, man. Craig, good morning, buddy. How are you? Thank you for all your support, for providing the African safari, for providing now this Illinois bow hunt. Craig, you're a good man. I appreciate it so very much. Brad, nice to have you along with us. Luke Pulaski, Outdoor Conquest. Captain Mike tuning in quick while I'm down here in Louisiana helping restore power from the ice storm. Pretty bad down here. I didn't realize, Luke, that was your daytime job, your day job. So God bless you for that. Stay safe down there, and we'll talk to you when you get back. Uncle Johnny, John Craves, good morning, buddy. It was so nice to spend the evening with you and Aunt Debbie. It is truly a blessing to have you guys as in-laws and family members, and you're just good people. And I enjoyed dinner last night. Wasn't that smoky bourbon a really, really good drink? I told you you'd like that. Anyway, Johnny, nice to have you along with us. Jim, there you are. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. I'm not sure what I think of this right here, of this comments scrolling. I'll keep it for a while till I get used to it. I'm not sure what benefit it provides, other than some context, maybe, by seeing multiple comments. So maybe that's worth it right there. Rocky, coolest name on the live stream this morning. Good morning, buddy. How are you? Patrick, thanks for joining us. I agree with you, Roy. I'm right there with you, buddy. Roy says, good morning, Mike. Dreaming about watching some offshore boards in warmer days. I've been dreaming about that too. I find myself with a bad case of spring fever, and it's too early to start thinking that direction, but I am. Jumping over to Instagram. Hey, good morning, Lupton Slayer. How are you? Fred Christensen, Mark McGruff, Benjo Green. Who is this right here? Gary Lepley's with us. Thanks for joining us on Behind the Mic. I'm streaming to Instagram as well, along with Facebook, of course, LinkedIn, YouTube, X used to be Twitter, and Instagram as well. But I'm with you, Roy. I'm really dreaming about this, and it didn't help a couple of weeks ago when I went down to the boat show in Novi, talking with Mr. Angler Quest, walking through one of the new models, the Angler Quest Pro Fish RA. I will be running an Angler Quest again this year, and talking with Brad. I'll get the boat much earlier this year. Last year, my fishing season was abbreviated. It was very short. And, I'm dealing with a guy who is single-handedly, almost. He has got a lot of good people behind him. Don't get me wrong there. But he's getting a new boat company off the ground. And I told him right off the bat, I said, Brad, listen, if you need to get your boat out to dealers, do that first. But this year, things are established. Brad's doing well. I will have the Angler Quest I'm going to be running this summer much earlier, and I'm going to put some hours on that boat. So I am with you, Roy, completely. Bernie, good morning, buddy. How are you? Where's Bernie's comment? There it is. What are the better odds, Mike? The Lions winning a Super Bowl or you winning the Pure Michigan Hunt? Hey, listen, I will win the Pure Michigan Hunt sometime in my life while I'm still able to take advantage of it. Now, did I win this year, Bernie? No, and thanks for rubbing it in. I got to tell you, I'm not one of those people who hates the DNR and thinks everything the DNR does is wrong. But in this case, the DNR completely screwed up because I was supposed to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. They drew 3 names last Friday evening at 8 o'clock, and I was tuned in to watch, and they didn't call Mike A 80. That's the way they would have done it. Mike Avery 80, the last 2 numbers of my phone number. They could have easily done it. Eric Hilliard from the DNR could have called my name, and he didn't. And I'm not happy about it. So I'm going to join the ranks of people who just think the DNR is absolutely screwing up, at least on the Pure Michigan Hunt. Don't get me wrong. I love the Pure Michigan Hunt. I will apply again. You can do that in March 1st. And we have one of the winners, one of the actual winners of the Pure Michigan Hunt, Curtis Cisco, on the radio show this week. By the way, I'm in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's show. I'll tell you who's coming up here in just a little bit. I did not know that you bought the LFA haul. I didn't know that. Very cool. All made with Michigan work, 100% redone. Good venue for hunters and outdoor enthusiasts. Thank you for letting me know about that. I was not aware. Tim, good morning, buddy. How are you? Kevin, nice to have you along with us. Jim, always a pleasure. Bill, thank you for joining us. Renee, thank you. Have to get together and do that podcast. The radio show on crow hunting. Is that what we're talking about, Tony? Because if so, I want to have you on next week because honestly, one of the, I always put out the thought, if there's something you would like to see differently on the show, something you would like to hear me talk about. And one guy said, I'd like to hear more about crow hunting. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. I don't crow hunt, but my buddy Tony crow hunts. So if you're saying, let's do a radio show on crow hunting, Tony, next week, next Wednesday morning, let's lock it in. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. How goes the battle? How goes the war, Johnny? How goes the war with you and Mother Nature? Johnny Bowler, Bear Whisperer, one of the truly good guys. I hope to be hunting with Johnny this fall for my Michigan bear. Johnny, look forward to seeing you down here for the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction, Saturday, March 7th. Roy says, maybe we can get Lance Valentine to take us out on his angler quest. I actually, for the first time, I think, ever fished with Lance on his angler quest last summer with Craig Plowman and a couple of Craig's friends, and it was wonderful. To get to, number one, not have to work and just watch people fish, watch people work, and to see how Lance does things, it was a lot of fun. Because Lance is truly one of the best out there. T-Bird Taylor, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining us over on Instagram for this edition of Behind the Mic. I'm actually here behind 2 microphones. My social media mic, you can hear this one. The official broadcast mic, you can't hear that one. We're going to start to record the show in about, a few minutes. Jay, good morning. How are you? Lauren, nice to have you along with us. Great lines for great weather for redoing lines and repairing gear for the big water. Bernie says, if you were aligned with Ferris's odds at winning the national championship, you would be golden. And actually, I should be. I should tie my star to the Ferris Bulldogs, go Dogs, because as a person who graduated from Ferris State College, at the time, college, I should have some of that Ferris mojo wearing off on me. Yeah. Dave, good morning. How are you? Butch, thanks for joining us. Tony says, yes. All right, Tony. Next Wednesday morning, plan on it. I will be in touch with you. We will set a time, and next week, Tony will join me to talk about crow hunting. Let me make myself a note, or I will forget. If I write it down, the odds are pretty good it'll happen. If I don't write it down, the odds are so-so. Jay, good morning, Jay. Working at getting the Black Lake Sturgeon Chivalry ready to go. We're raffling off a Mike as Aaron's signature knife. A Mike Avery signature knife. Take a picture of that, will you, Jay? Take a picture of that. Now, here's the original Mike Avery signature knife. I'd like to see how the color on your knife is. You and I had talked about this. Harry, good morning. How are you? Johnny says she's being... You can say bitch, Johnny. You can say bitch. Johnny says Mother Nature's being a real bitch today. You can say bitch. It's okay. You just can't drop an F-bomb. Denise, how are you? There's Lance. Lance says, let's go. Todd, thank you very much, Mike, for the shout out for the Essexville Knights of Columbus Wild Game Dinner this past Saturday. It was a success. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I have some events coming up, including next Saturday, a fundraiser for Brian's House Hospice in Bay County. When they first asked me to do that, I'm like, I don't want to get involved in one more event. And then something started nagging on me in the back of my brain. And I went back to when my dad spent his final days in a hospice. I'm like, you know what? This is a good cause. This is good. Avery, you should get involved. So I am involved. I am the MC of the event. It is next Saturday at Bay County Resort. Yes. Bay County Country Club and Resort. No, Bay Valley. That's what it is. Bay Valley. And you know, it's a first year event, so you never know how it's going to turn out, but I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be a big success. More events coming up. Bernie, I wouldn't want Johnny's job either. Johnny says she must love you. 38 days without a day off. Roy says, Lance Valentine, let's get Mike out on the Detroit River for some trolling. I talked with Lance about that. He's not going to be trolling much. He's going to be jigging. Savage Dog Outdoors, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining me this morning. Let's jump over to Instagram again. Matt Jackson's with us over on Instagram. Doug Sewell, Mike and B52. Okay, let me tell you about some of these events real quick. I talked about Brian's House, the fundraiser, next Saturday. Outdoor Rama is coming up the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Along with that is MUCC's convention. This is a big deal this year because the two events are, I can't say combined, but they're working in conjunction with each other. I will be, I am the MC of that event on Saturday night. Not the entire MUCC convention, just the banquet on Saturday night. This year's banquet looks a little bit different because it is a blatant fundraiser. But also, this whole convention this year, I will be there with my ears wide open because I want to get a feel for what direction MUCC is going. You know, there's been a change in leadership there. Amy Trotter's gone. I love Amy. I will always love Amy and respect her so much. Amy's gone. Justin Tomei is gone. Steve Wyndham's gone. Tyler Mihai's gone. All of the people that I used to work with are gone. But I am optimistic that they will be replaced with good quality people, and I will continue to support MUCC as long as MUCC doesn't. I'm looking at your text right here. Yeah, I'm talking to Chris about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice knife. But yeah, as long as MUCC doesn't abandon its support for the core hunting and fishing groups, the hook and bullet people. Then the Big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up Saturday, March 7th. The 14th, I'll be at the Reese Adventure Club. And then, and this is brand new news, ding, 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 just decided this morning, the next Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant, will be Wednesday, April 15th. Tax day. That should be an easy one to remember. Okay. All right, Johnny, have a good day, buddy. Savage Dog Outdoors, stay warm. You too as well. All right, Johnny. Don says, Brian's House is a great place. As a full-time hospice chaplain, I highly recommend that. Don, I did not realize that you were a hospice chaplain. God bless you for that. What a job. What an important job that is. Richter's Deer Tracking, good morning. Art Lewis, who is out on assignment. Where's he at? Frankenmuth? Yeah. Snowfest. Art Lewis says, how is it possible you did not win the Pure Michigan Hunt? That's a question I've been asking myself since Friday night at 8 o'clock. I was on with Charlie Rood this morning at WSGW. He asked me the same question. All I can say is it's just a huge mistake on the part of the DNR. All right, so 40,000 people applied. Okay, there were 3 winners chosen, and Mike Avery was not one of them. Of all the mistakes the DNR has made in the past few years, and you can argue that there are a lot of them, this is the biggest travesty, the biggest single mistake, the biggest single error in judgment that the DNR has made in the last year was not drawing my name as a winner of the Pure Michigan Hunt. It is unbelievable, it is inexcusable, and it is unforgettable and unforgivable. Disgraceful. John threw in another one. It's disgraceful. The only hope is that the DNR will rectify this next year when they draw the Pure Michigan Hunt winners. I'm so disappointed. So very disappointed. Oh, you guys had to bring it up, didn't you? Had to remind me. Kevin, good morning. Thank you, John. Tim Bin says we'll be there on the 15th. Excellent. Let's jump over to Instagram. Who's with us on Instagram? Jackie's with us on Instagram. How are you, my dear? Kevin's with us over on Instagram. Good to see you, buddy. Jackie, you guys will be back by the 15th. You think you could join us by April 15th, join us for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack? Yeah, you had to bring up Pure Michigan Hunt. Thank you so much. Yeah, had to go there, didn't you? Let me tell you who's coming up on this week's show. Chris Durson is my first guest this week. Chris is the guy behind Rapid River Knives. We're going to talk about Rapid River Knives, the company, the changes going on there, the phenomenal success of the Edmund Fitzgerald knife. Chris said in, 30 years of business, they've never had a knife sell out faster. Then Mike Mitchell, the interim CEO of MUCC, will join me. I'm going to ask him how the hunt for their new replacement full-time CEO is going as well. In our second hour, John Littlefield of Premier Maritime Training talks about how the process of becoming a charter captain, but he's also sitting on a lake ice fishing in the middle of the UP this morning. I'm not going to question John's sanity because John's a good guy. He's a very sharp guy. So we'll talk about ice fishing the UP this winter, and we'll talk about the process of becoming a charter captain. Then, one of the Pure Michigan Hunt winners, Curtis Cisco. I talked to Curtis on the phone yesterday. Curtis is a great guy. I don't begrudge Curtis for winning the Pure Michigan Hunt. I'm happy for him. I'm going to ask him how many times he applied. And if it was less than the number of times I applied, again, we're going to have a problem with the DNR. Jerry, transfer hunts. What are the odds of getting an elk permit with an advanced illness? I think the odds of getting an elk permit are with an advanced illness. I think they're, I don't know, but I'm going to say second to none, Jerry. I don't know. Jay, look at this. We'll be in the air flying back from Africa on the 15th. Did I know you guys were going to Africa? What a life-changing experience that will be. I've been to Africa twice. Lost my email. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Boning Archery is along with us, a great Michigan company. Used to work with Boning. Still love the company dearly. Michigan-based company. How can you beat that? They've been a staple in the archery industry forever. Nice to have you along with us, Boning. Appreciate you. An African safari. And speaking of Boning, both of my African safaris, I was bow hunting exclusively, and I was using blazer vanes on my arrow shafts to kill African big game animals. I've taken several of them, never used a gun, used a bow every time. Also, then wrapping up the second hour of this week's show, Conservation Officer Dan, and I've never talked with Dan, but I'm going to take a stab at his last name, Listenfelds, joins me to answer a very interesting question posed by an Ask Avery question. Jay says, we initiated this adventure at the first golf outing. This is the African safari that you've got at the golf outing. I did know that. Jay, I'm so happy for you. Thank you. And in the third hour this week, Jimmy Gretzinger, longtime host of Michigan Outdoors TV. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, which is another live stream like this. But right now, I need to switch gears, switch from my social media microphone to my official broadcast microphone. I'm going to put on my official broadcast headphones. Jerry, I'm sorry, I do not have time to answer this question right now. If you pose it tonight on Wednesday Night Live, I will answer it then, because I do have some very strong questions. Got it, Jen. You have a good day as well. Boom. Okay. Mad Jack, you have a great day as well, buddy. Morning, Jerry. You caught me just as I've got to go. All right, my friends, I will not be able to directly answer your questions as I have been, because I'm getting ready to record the first segment of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. You feel free to stick around and listen if you want, but I will not be able to directly interact with you. I will be back tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, when we can continue our conversations. In the meantime, you have a wonderful day. Try to stay warm. I know that's like spitting into the wind right now. If you did it, it'd probably freeze and come back and hit you in your face. But I'll be back tonight. In the meantime, have a great day. I got to go to work. You can't really call it work, can you? But that's what I got to do. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network, on radio stations across this great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we kind of wrap up the month of January and jump into the month of February. And what a month January has been this year. Mother Nature. What did we do to make Mother Nature so mad at us? Who of you has done these things that had caused Mother Nature to take her wrath out on the entire state and beyond? It feels like a good old-fashioned Michigan winter, doesn't it? It feels like the winters I remember growing up on the west side of the state back in the 70s. And actually, we made a trip to the west side of the state this past weekend, my wife Denise and I, to see my mom and to visit our granddaughter, Addison, who is over at Calvin College, Calvin University, playing softball for Calvin. We went over to see her, take some things over to her. And as I was driving West Michigan, I was reminded what it's like over there in the wintertime, at least this wintertime. And wow. It was so bad coming back. And I'm one of these guys who will always drive the freeway, always take the freeway. This trip, I said, I got to get off this freeway. This is an accident. This is a multi-car pileup waiting to happen. So I jumped off on 14 Mile and took M57 back across the state. So yeah, it was an interesting note. This entire trip, I keep, hey, listen, I'm like you, right? As I'm driving, I'm paying attention to the road in front of me, as we should be, but my eyes are always scanning off to the side, right? I'm looking. Do I see turkeys? Do I see deer? Do I see turkeys? Do I see deer? And I didn't see anything, any sign of wildlife at all. Even the critters were like, I'm not going out in these conditions. Until just before dark, the wind had dropped a little bit. It was still cold, but finally started to see some deer just before dark. They don't want to be out. The critters don't want to be out either. It's been brutal, hasn't it? Absolutely brutal. Now, if you have been out there enjoying the temperatures, enjoying the winter, you're tough. And congratulations, and I hope you're having fun. I mean, it has been wonderful for making ice. Mother Nature, the old saying, boy, she's been making some ice now, hasn't she, eh? Well, she has been making some ice now, hasn't she, eh? Even on Saginaw Bay, and as we're recording this, there are people out on Saginaw Bay. They're working their way out there. They're poking their way out there. But these are people who know the bay. These are people who are going out there in groups. These are people who are staying in contact with other people. These are people who know what they're doing. Because Airborne Angler, I saw some of his pictures just maybe yesterday, and there were still pockets of open water on Saginaw Bay. How is that possible? I don't know, but be careful. Be with people who know what they are doing. And by the time you hear the broadcast version of the show this weekend, things could have changed completely. She could be locked up solid all the way across in open water. Just be careful. Be careful. It has been cold, and that's an understatement. It has been brutal, the wind chills. And where did we go from having wind chill to feels like? How can we have a reading that forever, 40, 50 years, was called wind chill? In our frame of reference, our mind gets used to, okay, it's 0 out, but the wind chill is 12 below. We knew what wind chill was. Why did we have to have weather experts come along and change everything and say the real field temperature? What? What's wrong with wind chill? So I will use the term wind chill for the rest of my life. Just like I will say crick. I know it's creek. I want to say popple. I know it's poplar, but some things you use for your entire life, I'm just going to continue to use them till the end. So there is no real field temperature to me. It's a wind chill. But the wind chill has been ridiculous. The regular temperature has been ridiculous. The amount of snow in some parts of our state have been ridiculous. But there is hope on the horizon. The days are indeed getting longer. I remember sitting in a blind during gun season, and it was dead dog dark at 5:30. You couldn't, John, if you get a chance, will you close that? I'm picking it up. You couldn't see to shoot. I think shooting hours were officially over anyway, but it was dark at 5:30. Driving home the other night from the west side of the state, 5:30, it was still daylight. You could still see. I mean, I think it was light until 6 o'clock. So we are moving the right direction. I do admit that I have a bad case of spring fever. I do admit I find my mind going out to Saginaw Bay on the angler quest, trolling multiple boards, trolling over that and around that new reef that's out there by the man-made island. I'm really excited to get out there and check that out. But it's too early to have spring fever. If I have spring fever now, I'm going to set myself up for disappointment. So one part of my brain has spring fever. The other part's Avery. You got too much experience to let yourself get drawn into this whole spring fever mode. Chill out. Relax. It's wintertime. It's Michigan. Sit back. Okay. I am not one of those people who says the DNR always makes a mistake and they never do anything right. I'm not one of those people. Does the DNR make mistakes? Of course they do, because they're people. But I got to tell you, in this case, the Michigan DNR has made a huge mistake. I'm talking about monumental mistake, the type of mistake that maybe cannot be recovered from. What am I talking about? They did not draw me as one of the winners of the Pure Michigan Hunt. It is inexcusable. How can this happen? All right, I know they had 40,000 applicants, but I should be one of the winners. And I didn't win. No, I'm not happy about it. Oh, I'm doing a live stream right now, and somebody says, "Nope, Avery, you're wrong. It's daylight now till 6:30 or 7." Okay, I misspoke. But that's not as big of a mistake as the DNR not drawing me for a winner of the Pure Michigan Hunt. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I just, I was convinced I was going to win. And here's the thing. When I won, I was going to take the elk tag, I was going to take the bear tag, and I was going to give everything else to charity. So, I mean, how altruistic is that? Oh, well, there's always next year. And you can get Pure Michigan Hunt applications online or at your license dealer starting again in March 1st. And I will. I'm a glutton for punishment. The old lottery commercial, you can't win if you don't play. Well, you can't win the Pure Michigan Hunt if you don't play. And I will play. I will play. I will apply again next year. And you better get it right next year, Michigan DNR. Okay? I'm watching. And I'm paying attention. And I'm remembering. Eric Hilliard of the DNR. Last Friday night at 8 o'clock, you went online and announced the winners. And Mike A 80 was not one of them. I mean, I don't want to continue on this thing, but the more I think about it, the more disappointed I am. The DNR made an obvious mistake. Now, having said that, I'm just kidding. Kind of. Okay, so what else is going on? All right, there are some events coming up in my world. Next Saturday, the 7th, there's a fundraiser for Brian's House Hospice. When the folks at Brian's House reached out to me and said, will you be a part of this? I originally said, I wish you well. I wish you luck. It's a wonderful project, but no, I can't get involved in one more thing. And then something started nagging on me in the back of my mind, like, Avery, this is a good cause. You got to be a part of this. So next Saturday, the 7th, a fundraiser for Brian's House. Do a search for Brian's House fundraiser or send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Coming up the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Outdoor Rama. In conjunction with that, MUCC's convention. Big deal this year. Saturday, March 7th, our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Then the 14th, the Reese Adventure Club. I'll be out there for that. And just announced April 15th, Tax Day, our next Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show, after the break, Chris Durson of Rapid River Knives checks in. How are things going there? Are they up to stock? Did they get their showroom restocked yet? Then Mike Mitchell, the interim director of MUCC, talking about the search for their permanent director and what they want to do with this year's convention. And then also, in our second hour, John Littlefield. John is in the UP ice fishing right now. I want to talk to him about that. Also, the process of becoming a charter captain. Curtis Cisco, who is indeed one of the winners of this year's Pure Michigan Hunt. What's the secret, Curtis? Tell me, how do I win next year? And then this week's Ask Avery question, can you load your gun in the blind before daylight? And we'll wrap it all up with Jimmy Gretzinger, the longtime host of Michigan Outdoors TV, and then Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is Outdoor Magazine. So glad you're with us. Okay, John has turned the microphone off, so I'm back doing a live stream now. If you heard me bitching about the DNR, that's just in jest. I mean, am I disappointed I didn't win Pure Michigan? Yes. Am I going to continue to bust their chops over it? Yes. But I didn't really think I was going to win. I am going to win next year, though. All right, my friends, have a great day. I'll be back tonight for Wednesday Night Live. In the meantime, have a great day. Try to stay warm. We'll see you tonight.